Party people! Bow, 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 bow,
I
bow,
should have
bow.
brought my disco ball. What the hell?
Darren, I have my disco ball literally hanging. I'm showing it to you right now on my wall. Wait, do you see it? Wait, where is it? There it is.
Oh my god! Was that there when I visited last year?
No, it was not. It was not.
I have to visit
You
again.
do have to visit again. I've also
Awesome.
got like a bunch more art that I've hung on my walls. I'm like definitely spreading out in here. And I got a new couch. So,
Yes.
living. But yeah, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Simply Amazing. This fabulously amazing Pride Month. Happy Pride.
Yes.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride, everybody. How are you feeling, Lauren? Tell me about it.
Old.
Oh my God, girl.
Because like when I was in college and stuff, like when you celebrate Pride Month, you're like, oh my god, where are all the Pride parades and where are all the events to go to? And I'm here like, man, I'm just here doing normal things. Like I feel like a bad queer person. Like I feel like I need to go do more like specifically gay things.
Okay, first of all, you sound like an adult. And
No,
like,
boring.
can we talk about like the only queer people who are like out celebrating every single day are like the ones on TV in TV shows because that's not real. We are all adults. We have jobs. You're doing great is my point.
Ugh, thank you. It's just I wanna I don't know. Like I wanna have fun, but I'm also tired.
I mean, welcome to adulthood. That's literally like on the manual of adulthood. It says that it's like adulthood. I want to have fun, but I'm always tired.
Yes, that's 100% it. But I'm excited because my current boyfriend, so he's 100% straight, but he was super sweet because like out of nowhere he was like, oh, my friend told me about these Pride events, do you want to go? And I was like, I hadn't even looked at Pride events yet. Oh my god, I'm terrible. Yes, I would love to go. I don't know how many I can make, but yes, please.
Listen, the only thing you are required to do during Pride is love yourself. So
It's true. It's
there you
true.
go. That's for
That is the
everybody
tea
out
for
there.
everyone. Mhm.
Exactly. Literally for everybody out there. Because people have social anxieties and people have issues and they're like, well, if I'm not doing, I'm not doing. No. Just love yourself and be good to yourself and be kind to yourself. And that's all you have to do.
I think that's it. Especially people that, are not out of the closet yet, or you're kind of in this weird area where you don't know really what's going on and you're having, trouble processing things or what have you. There's no expectation. If you see people out there doing one thing and you're like, I don't know about that, don't worry about it because like, just do what makes you happy. There's no one way to have pride or to show pride or to live in your own pride. Just do what works best for you and doesn't hurt others. And it's all great.
Amen. Absolutely. I totally agree. And that kind of segues very nicely into what we're talking about this week, which is actually, sorry about it, guys, but we are doing a repost. But this is a great episode, and there's a reason why we want to show it again. And it's because it's Pride Month, and this really is, when it comes to Kurt, this is like the Pride issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. This one, I remember this was an issue that I hadn't thought much about until Lisa brought to my attention. And then once I read it, I was like, "Yep, this is perfect." I feel terrible about overlooking this because it's a great one, and I think too in general, like Kurt is a great example of an ally. And I know some people would say, "Well, he can't be an ally because he's not, he's definitely on the spectrum, or he's in the community," which I also had canon, so like whatever. But like, I think Kurt is just such a great character. He's a great character to go to during Pride as well, and any other time, because he doesn't just celebrate Pride 1 month a year. He has Pride all the time, and he completely normalizes it. And I think he's a great example of how many of us want to be, and how it is helpful to be. And he's also just the kind of friend you want to have. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, it's a great issue about intersectionality between, like different types of I guess like oppressed individuals. And it's also the comic book that we got our name from, Simply Amazing. And it has that it has that great speech, one of my favorite things that Kurt's ever said about, how he just reminds himself he is quite simply amazing. And I think that that's an important message that we all need to remember, is that every single person out there, you are amazing no matter what, and don't let anyone tell you any different. And I tell myself that a lot because We all go through it. Am I right? We all go through it.
Mhm.
So yeah, but this is our Pride episode from last year that we just wanted to share again because it was just it's just an important issue and it's a fun issue to do. Just said the goral.
Thank you.
Goral.
Goral is a way of life. It's not girl, it's goral,
It's
and it's not
goral.
gender. Goral is a way of life.
It is a way of life. I totally agree. I use girl like people use dude. And some people are like, don't call me girl. And it's like, well, don't call me dude then. I mean,
Well, and
like
specifically the goral said that way. It's it's terribly inspired by Gru's voice from Despicable Me. He's like, "Okay, girls, go to bed." So
that is
and
totally
that's
different read
something.
than I was expecting.
It's something goofy I say with my siblings in our house. Like we're just like, yeah, squirrel. And then when somebody's
I
like, did you just call me a girl? We're like, no, goral. Goral is a lifestyle, okay? It's a
th-
state of mind.
hey, where's my here we go. Judge Lauren dropping it. Girl. It's a statement. It's a way of life. Happy Pride and welcome to everybody to Simply Amazing, the fabulous, the best, number one. I'm going to go ahead and say it. We are the number one Nightcrawler podcast in the world.
100%.
I
100%.
mean, like, listen, if you're out there listening and you can find a better one, just show it to me because there's no better than us right now. And I say that with confidence because we're the only one. So that helps.
And how does that happen? I mean, everyone has a podcast for everything. Like, I don't know, but like it's nice we don't have a lot of competition, but also bring it on. Bring it on.
I've gotten into a couple conversations recently, like in Discords and stuff, where people are like, really? It's a Nightcrawler podcast? Like, all you do is talk about Nightcrawler? It's like, yeah, that's literally all we do. And we've been doing it now over 6 months. We're going to be hitting a year in September. Like,
That's wild. That's
and
absolutely wild.
I'm having a great time, though. I'm enjoying every minute of it. And of course, this is our Pride episode. We have your friendly neighborhood bi and your friendly neighborhood ally here
Let's
to do.
go.
I came up with that hours ago and I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. I'm going to
I
use
love
it.
it. I love it. We're roaming the streets. We're here to help at any corner. It's what we do. It's what heroes do.
Amen. And I want to, before we get into everything, before we get into the intros and everything, I want to point out that we are raising money for the Trevor Project. We have we have 2 shirt designs. And you know what? We're going to, whatever money we make from both of them, we're going to send to the Trevor Project. We've got an amazing shirt that was designed by me and Chango XTC, actually did the art for it. And it's Juggernaut and Black Tom. And it says, not just buddies, brah.
I love
Which
it.
is actually a Lauren quote from one of our episodes. And then we have
Thank
our
you.
awesome BAMF shirt. So every single cent, every single penny goes to the Trevor Project. So please go check it out. Check out our website for that.
Yes, and if you don't know, the Trevor Project's a really awesome organization for LGBTQ youth and all that stuff. They do a lot of great work. They've been around for quite a while now. I knew, like, even in high school, like, I remember them being around when I was still coming out and stuff. So yes, buy cool shirts, donate money that way. It's a great time. And send us pics. Send us pics on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
send
stuff.
us
We wanna
pics.
see you wearing them.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm going to be posting myself wearing them. I love how you're like, Trevor Project was important when I was in high school. I was like, we didn't have the Trevor Project when I was in high school because I went to high school fucking a long time ago. So it's like
they were barely around when I was in high school. I mean, my age group, it was weird because now we're so used to like gays everywhere, even though there's still male issues, it's everywhere. But back then it was just starting to become more talked about.
Oh yeah. I remember when I was in high school, they just were getting started. Like they were just starting to talk about having like a gay lesbian alliance like club in the school.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how old I am. I'm fucking old. I go way back. Anyway, I am Nocturne, guys, the OG Nocturne, aka Lisa, aka you go. And yeah, I'm joined, of course, by my amazing co-host, the fabulous, the one and only.
I am Lauren, your friendly neighborhood bi, and Lisa picked out another really great issue this week that we wanted to focus on specifically because of its elements relating to Pride Month and Pride in general, and supporting the community, intersectionality, Lisa mentioned earlier, which is one of my favorite words that is not talked about properly always. So I'm really excited to talk about this.
No, this is a great episode. So for those of you out there who have not read our title, which I'm sure is going to be this, we're talking about Amazing X-Men number 13. This is from 2013. This is a great issue, like you were saying, for intersectionality, for pride, for all those things. But another great thing about this issue is this is where we got our name from. So we'll get to that and we'll talk about that. That's where Simply Amazing comes from.
Our name comes from one of the gayest issues. You're welcome, guys. We did it. We did it.
One of the gayest issues starring Nightcrawler, which there's not a whole lot of gay issues starring Nightcrawler. So this is...
And that's honestly homophobic. At Marvel, do better.
No, listen, I think the only thing gayer that Marvel has published with Nightcrawler in it is that Wolverine cover, which we should do. We should do an entire episode just about that cover, because that cover is so... It's iconic. I feel like anytime anyone talks about like any kind of slash relationships, it's that cover is always comes up because it's so iconic, and it's just like it's amazing that nobody at Marvel was like, wow, this is really gay. Is that our intention for this cover? Unless they weren't, they were like, let's go for it.
Well, I think it's funny because, and when we do an episode talk about, but just because you mentioned it, I think so many of the Marvel editors in office are like, this looks really macho and masculine, print it, and they didn't realize how homoerotic it is, or maybe there was somebody in the office that did, and they're like, so I want this homoerotic shit published. I'm gonna act like it's really macho as fuck, so they publish it, and it worked. Whatever happened, they published it.
It's if you haven't seen it, basically, Wolverine is sitting at a table and he's got a beer on the table, and the beer is just placed so perfectly that it could be his dick. Like it really could. And then Nightcrawler's just fucking naked in front of him.
And for what reason?
No one knows. And you know what the best part is? The interior issue is a totally different artist. It's Derek Robertson did the interior. I don't remember who did the cover, because when we cover this issue, we'll get to it. But the whole of the interior is Kurt's as a priest, and they're like chatting as BFFs. So it's just fucking brilliant. I love it. Anyway, let's get to this issue.
As a lesbian say, that's some super core shit. All right.
Yes, let's get to this issue. So we have Amazing X-Men number 13. James Tynion is the writer. And this is like, I think one of his only works for Marvel.
He has not done a lot for Marvel at all. And
yeah,
who knows?
I really want to say that.
But I don't blame him.
I mean, he's like in charge of the entire Bat everything, isn't he? At DC right now? No, what is he doing? He's in charge of something. He's doing something big with DC, I know.
No, not anymore, really. He does Nice House on the Lake. That's his, which is Black Label. But past that, he wrote Batman for a bit. That run was you either loved it or hated it. There was a much middle. Somebody else has been on the book for a while. Zdarsky's picking up Batman now. So, no, he's not really in charge of anything at DC anymore, other than he does Nice House on Lake, and then most of the other stuff he's doing is indie. So he does a lot of indie work. Something's Killing the Children, which is an Image book.
Got it. Okay. Fair. So I was completely wrong. Thank you for that, Lauren. I don't know where I got that idea. I don't pay attention to anything DC, period, at all.
For a while, he was writing quite a bit of DC, so I don't blame you. He did Justice League Dark and Batman and a couple other things. It's just that era has passed, I guess.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm going to be real. I stopped reading DC stuff, after Blackest Night. That's how long it's been for me and DC. So, yeah, that was the end of DC for me. It wasn't like a bad thing. It wasn't like I decided. It was just, I don't know. I just moved on. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, James Tynion, George or Jorge Jimenez is here. I didn't look up pronunciation of all that stuff. I did look up pronunciation of Anole, because I was like, I'm not going to go through this damn episode trying to figure out how to say Anole, or if it's Anole or whatever else. No, it's Anole. I looked it up. I actually went on Google, and you can have Google to say it to you, and it's Anole. So yes. So the issue, it's called Charm School. The whole concept of this issue basically is it's starring the three main characters of this issue are Anole, Nightcrawler, and Jean-Paul Barbier, aka Northstar. And yeah, so this issue starts out with a young blonde boy is waiting he's waiting with a cup of tea or something at a Starbucks or something like that in Chelsea, waiting for Vic to come, and Vic does not show up.
Oh, Vic.
I know because he's okay. So yeah, we'll get into the intersectionality about the in a minute, but like it's just he's a character who he's gay and he's got a physical mutation. So it's like
Mhm.
he's trying to meet the right person. He wants to go on dates, but then there's that like feeling of what like are they really going to like who I am? I think everybody can relate to this. If anybody out there has done online dating, I think we all can relate to that feeling of like I know I put pictures up and I know I said what I looked like or I said something or whatever else, but like when you go to actually meet that person, it's like, oh my god, what if they are disappointed by what they see? Like that is a very universal. Maybe I just have really low self-esteem, but I feel like that's a
No,
universal kind
it
of.
is. I mean, it is. I mean, unless, you're just like, completely egocentric or, a narcissist to the highest degree. I mean, even low level narcissists, right, get insecure and stuff. And especially with online dating because you haven't even met them and then you have to worry about stranger danger and stuff.
Oh yeah, I have my own personal story where basically I was going back and forth with this guy on like OkCupid or Match or one of those fucking things, and we had the best rapport, and we had the best conversations, and he was so funny, and then we met, and I could tell the moment I walked in that like I was not what he was expecting,
Mhm.
and yeah, and like here's the best way to know that the person that you've met for a date is not interested in actually going on that date with you is when you sit down at the table at the restaurant and they hand the menu back to the waitress and say, "Oh no, we're having drinks. No food." And I'm like, "Okay, this is going to be short." Yeah,
Wow.
I'm like, "Okay,
That is
this is
fucking
going to be short."
awful.
Yes. I mean, here's the
That
thing though. Listen, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's totally fine. And not everybody is my cup of tea. So, you know what? We all have our preferences. We all have our likes and dislikes, all that shit. No tea, no
yeah.
shade, no judgment on that. However, I felt like I was pretty forthcoming with my pictures. I don't know what he was expecting. Maybe it was just too much. Maybe it's just like this is
Probably intimidation, let's be real. And I mean, imagine having that situation, but then, you've also got, let's say, the person is gay or something. They expected a woman or you're a dude or something. Like, it's hard when you bring in all those other layers because you're right. Just, for anybody, those situations are hard and they suck. But then you add these other layers like, oh, well, they thought you were this gender or something. You're not that gender. You're a different gender. Oh, they thought you looked very human, but now you look like a fish. Oh,
yeah,
they don't know what
yeah.
to do with that. And that level of judgment, even if you're absolutely right, a lot of times we do this unconsciously and everybody has a right to their own what they're into and what they're not. But oh my God, like there's a line that once that's crossed, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not, it hurts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like the one thing that I feel like is a little unclear in these first two pages is so it appears that like Victor he's there at the coffee shop. I feel like was he wearing an image inducer? Like I'm very confused about that part of it. Like cuz he seems to be there and then all of a sudden everybody's like shocked to see him and it's like so was he wearing an image inducer while he was waiting or I don't know. That is unclear but whatever. We can move on because there's more to the issue than just that. But we got Lady Masterminds, one of the LMMs is here and it's
Just
actually
as annoying as the original mastermind, like just
oh
another piece of
they're the
shit.
worst. And here's the thing: we're going to talk a little bit about the ladies' mastermind because I've got some theories about them and their relationship with Kurt. We'll get there in a second. This issue has a lot to do with my feelings about their relationship with Kurt, but so this is. I just want to make it clear: this is Reagan Wingard. I'm just going to mention that right now, and we'll get into it later. And yeah. But yeah, so Reagan's here and she's about to fuck shit up, basically. She's like, she sees Victor. She's like, oh, he looks sad. He's someone I can play with. And so she's going to do that. But then we end up back at the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. Guys, remember when it was called the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning?
How wild is that shit? And I mean, it's so the artist on this book is Jorge Jimenez, and I really have loved his work on Batman. But it is this year, it's 2022. This book we're talking about, Amazing X-Men 13, came out in 2014. Jorge Jimenez's art has gotten so much better since this issue. And I say that with love. Again, I love Jimenez's art. He's such a sweetheart. Also, have you seen his Instagram? He's gorgeous. Anyways, but the art for this issue it's hard for me to really
It's
completely love.
So I think the one thing we want to keep in mind is this is definitely a fill-in issue. Like this is because so Amazing X-Men started around I think 2012-ish,
Mhm.
and it started with it was I think Jason Aaron. It started with specifically the quest to find Nightcrawler and to bring him back to life. Like that was where it began. And I want to say that like so this is issue 13. So that's like, you know, your typical um your typical publishing plan is like a 3 to 6 issue uh plot or story, right? I mean, 6 issues is a trade paperback. So this is like 2 trades, and then they're putting in this story, which this story is a one shot. It has nothing to do with much of anything else. It is
Mhm.
just a simple one shot. So I want to say that like there might be some lacking as far as uh like nuance in the art or like cleanliness in the art only because it was probably a fill-in and they had to get him in to do this. I might be talking out my ass, who knows. I did not do enough. I spent way too much time researching how to say Anole and not enough researching anything else. So,
Mood. But regardless, I mean, again, like, artists are allowed to grow, and the art
oh
in this
yeah.
isn't like unbearable. But this next page we're on, like when you first see Kurt, I'm like, yeah, this is not my favorite drawing of Kurt. But it's also important to note that this is just when Kurt's barely been back to life after
Yeah,
he died.
he's still mostly made of worms, which is still, I mean,
We don't need to talk about
just thank
that.
God for the resurrection protocols because he could get a body that's not made of worms. Because I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about that eventually. We're going to have to get to that, but not in this issue or not in this
Thank
episode.
God.
But yeah, so Kurt shows up to Jean Paul's French class, and everybody's getting massages. And I kind of love it because it's just like this. This is just I'm not. I do love Northstar. I'm not like a super fan. Like I don't know a ton about him, but like I've always loved him when he's been written this way, which is this kind of pompous asshole.
Mhm.
And it it's just I love it. I mean, Austin wrote him like this and I loved it. It's one of the only things from Austin we loved. But yeah, it's just, so he's having his massages and Kurt's like, "All right, bitch, I need you over here." And he bamps him away. And of course, Northstar is like, "Now my pants are gonna smell like shit for weeks. Get tied, girl." Because, like, listen, you know what I mean? Like, do
Brimstone
you not wash your
Dimension.
clothes? I'm just like, okay.
It's a stank, man. Kind of like you said, the Brimstone Dimension. Like no matter how many times you wash it, you're gonna have to bleach it, and you got black pants. I mean,
I'm
how do they
okay.
think Kurt lives? He finds a
Well,
way.
exactly, number one. And number two, okay. Without going into details, many of us have been in situations where we have been surrounded by, let's say, smoke of a nature that's very pungent, and we need to make sure our parents don't smell it. And you know what? Febreze. I mean, Jean Paul, you live in the 21st century. Febreze is
He
a
probably
thing.
thinks he's too good for Febreze. He's like, I'm not gonna just go to CVS or Walgreens or whatever and just buy a can of Febreze. Why would I do such a thing? I am above that.
I mean, then maybe he needs to deal with it. I mean, he works with children. Like, you're gonna smell eventually. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry to say. But so basically, the next page we get is So Nightcrawler's like, "Where the fuck's Anole? Like, he's not here."
Mhm.
And he's like, "I heard you gave him a pass to go to the city. Like, you understand how dangerous that is, and you should, you should like he's got a visible mutation. He's a target." And John Paul takes this very personally because, of course, like John Paul as a gay man is like he takes it personally in a way like, "How dare you talk to me about you know being a target or being something like I as if I wouldn't understand that." And I think this is where like the intersectionality really comes in, because the idea of this whole issue is that Victor needs both someone who understands his gay side as well as someone who understands his visible mutation side, really, in order to kind of come to terms with the situation and move on. Because, as much as Northstar is like, yeah, well, I'm gay and he's gay and we get along, it's like, but Northstar, like, bitch, you're pretty good looking. Like, you're not a
Well,
green
yeah.
troll.
Yeah, I mean, it's the desire that, okay, great, you accept me for being gay. Hell, you even embrace it. That's wonderful. But when it comes down to this other part of me, like even just the physical, you still don't accept that. And so it doesn't at that point, I imagine it doesn't matter at that point whether or not he's accepted for being gay. You still don't accept this other thing. So, you have
It's
to accept every aspect, not just the one that you can identify with and the one that you understand. Northstar, like you said, understands the gay aspect. He doesn't understand the physical mutation aspect.
exactly. And like like I understand his anger at Kurt in that moment where it's just like, but at the same time, there are certain things that you're never going to face, like Jean Paul. There's just certain things you're just never going to face. It doesn't matter. And, of course, in this case, Kurt, no, even though Kurt is not gay and that's up for a debate with a lot of Logurt shippers. But even though he's not gay, this is something that he understands much better than Northstar does. And so when we move back to Chelsea, can I just say this? I miss Rockslide so much. This issue reminded me of how much I love Rockslide and his relationship with Anole. They're so fucking adorable together. I miss him so much. Bring him back. I don't, whatever gate he is now, we don't need it. Bring him back. But so yeah, him and Rockslide are chatting. And of course, we see a lot of people reacting to Victor as he's walking down the street. And they all are kind of reacting with disgust.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of this has to do with Lady Mastermind. Let me tell you, I grew up going to New York City a lot, and it takes a lot to it takes a lot to get New Yorkers to stare at somebody. It really fucking does. So I have a feeling this is a lot more of Lady Mastermind's work in getting that. And all of a sudden, so JP shows up and he's like, he takes Santos's phone and is like, "Hey, Victor, what the fuck's going on? You got this blue asshole on my ass. So, and I don't like it like that. So you better fucking tell me about something or why you're not here." Because apparently Victor said he was going to go meet up with a friend from school, and it
Right.
was actually he was going to meet for this date, and he wasn't very forthcoming about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in the process of his conversation, all of a sudden, like 5 versions of the guy he was going to date named Gnome. Interesting choice for name. I mean, was Mike not good? I don't know. Gnome is an
I
interesting
guess
choice. All I'm
not.
saying. I'm just saying Gnome. The only gnome I know is Nomi Malone, and she's the only one that matters. So, but basically, anyway, so all of a sudden there's 1,000 gnomes, and they're all like, you're gross, you're disgusting, you want to kiss me, your skin feels gross, blah blah blah, and of course, Anole is young. He's a kid. He's he's younger, and he's just not able to really handle that. And I'm sure that. See, this is another interesting thing that I'm going to ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about because there's another level of this here where Kurt was born the way he looked and he was raised that way. He doesn't know any different.
Right.
And I can't imagine how tough it is for someone who was not born that way and suddenly to have their entire body just kind of change completely into something. I mean, I don't want to say grotesque, I guess you can say. I mean, I wouldn't call Anole grotesque, but in a lot of ways, like doesn't look human. He's like reptile. And I can't imagine, I imagine that in itself is very hard to deal with.
This is so his situation is a lot more extreme, but I imagine it's a more extreme version of what's like when we go through puberty, right? Because we're born a certain
Mm-hmm.
way, and as a teenager, you start getting acne. I mean, we also get physical deficiencies, but they're more seen as normal. But when you're a teenager, you don't care if acne is normal to have as a teenager. You're like, oh my God, I'm hideous. And people go to great extents, even as adults, but especially when you're a teenager, to cover it up with makeup or you get bullied for having acne and stuff, when again, it is completely normal, which is even worse. So imagine where there is no normalcy to Anole's look. And you're absolutely right. Like, and our, walking around other humans, there is no normalcy on any level to
Yeah.
looking more reptilian or whatever. So, um,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, it's hard as hell. And there's a lot of, I think, again, even though this is a more extreme version that us as humans probably can't identify with as much, I think a lot of us can still identify with the theme behind it. Like, I have a brother who he used to eat whatever he wanted, and then we found out that he has this really rare disease, like super rare, where he can't eat certain things now or he'll throw up. And so
Oh.
he got used to eating all these wonderful things for years, and now he just can't do it, and that was taken from him, like, because of the situation. So and I know that's been hard on him. So yeah, I can only imagine for Noel how hard it is. And then you can't escape it. You cannot hide that. You can't hide how you look unless, again, you use like an image inducer, which is interesting that that's never discussed in this
Yeah.
issue. Like, it's interesting. He never thought, well, I think I heard Kurt use an image inducer. Let me go, like, try to, like, steal one from the danger room or something.
You know what, though? I got to be honest. I mean, the image inducer is a bit of a deus ex machina. Like, it's just, it's we do have to do the episode The Big Dare one of these days. We haven't done it yet. We have to do that one. That's the one where Logan dares
Mhm.
Kurt to walk without his image inducer. And I think, like, the issue with the image inducer is that it makes it too easy. Like, unless you have a story, I don't know. I get what you're saying. You're totally right. It would have made sense for him to get an image inducer for this, but at the same time, like, unless you have a story to tell around that image inducer, I don't love the idea of it always being available and always being around.
No, I
Um,
agree, and it would make sense to me that at this point in time, those wouldn't be available because, yeah, when the early X-Men comics were out, that was still something explored, but I imagine by 2014, right, um, especially in Jean Grey's Institute, that's something that wasn't explored in terms of, no, that's not an option. We don't want you to hide who you are. We're going to
yeah,
teach you, that it's okay to love yourself. And if somebody puts you through hell, you let us know, and we'll back you up. We'll figure out what to do. Um, yeah, that you're absolutely right. I mean, I guess it's not that I would want that in the storyline, so it's probably better, like you said, narratively, that was not done. And I'm sure Tynion, because here's the thing too, Tynion, to my knowledge, is gay, I think, unless I'm wrong on that. So you have a LGBTQ writer writing this story, which also makes a lot of sense. And so I could see him going, yeah, I'm not using that old narrative. Like, get the fuck, no image inducer. That sucks.
yeah. It's been a long time since we've seen anyone use the image inducer. I feel like the thing I can only think back to is, like, I don't know. It's been a long time. So moving on to the next page. I kind of love how this page starts where is Kurt just interviewing everybody at the Institute? Like, is he in charge of making sure they're not overpaying people? Because he just seems like he's talking to Dupe now, and he's like, what do you do here exactly? And the answer to that is Dupe gives good dick. That's what he does. That is literally canon. Dupe is like a fuck master.
He
I
is.
didn't make this up. I didn't make this up. It is fucking canon. I'm pretty sure he fucked Wolverine. Like, Dupe is everybody's boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever you want to call it, because I don't really even know what Dupe's exact gender
No,
is. I
it's
don't think
true.
Dupe has
That,
a
like,
gender.
here's the thing. Nobody knows anything about Dupe's character except a couple things. And one of the things is that he's a fuck master, basically, without any way of putting it. And he literally taught, like, sex education essentially at this school. Like, that was literally what he did, which I think's fucking rad. That's fantastic.
I love it. I'm a big Dupe fan because I loved X Factor and Ecstatics way, way back in the day. Like, those were some of my
Mhm.
favorite comics when I first started reading. I loved them so much. Um, so yeah, so now Northstar is on his way to go get Anole, and Nightcrawler's like, I'm coming. And he's like, and Northstar's like, no, 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 you're not. And he's like, well, if I don't come, then I'm just gonna BAMF all around you until you smell like shit. So how about it? Um, so that's how they end up heading to New York City. It's just more bullshit from Lady Mastermind. She's being terrible to Victor. I mean, poor Anole.
What the hell's new?
I mean, she's just being awful. And
She's making him, like, obviously see things and then being like, haha, but you can't have this. And then he's running and he's all sad as hell. But then Northstar comes in and punches everything.
yes,
Yes, Northstar. Yes.
he comes in and punches but like he punches like her. It's not her he's punching. He's just kind of like punching like her
It's an
master,
illusion of
her
or
illusion.
something.
There we go. Her illusions. They're not magic tricks. They're illusions. So yeah, he's punching the illusions. Kurt's like, what the fuck's going on? This is weird. And Lady Mastermind then singles right on him and makes him think he's back like in Germany with his cute little, I don't know, he's like all ripped up little pants and he's like a little baby Kurt.
Baby Kurt.
And oh yeah, it's so she's just like fucking things up, and he's like, I'm a man, I'm a man. And I don't know, for some reason, like an Azazel looking Wolverine thing shows up, which is like, I don't understand what that is, but okay, I'll take it. Uh, oh, and the thing I forgot to mention was before Kurt and Northstar left, Kurt was like, I need my swords. And I'm like, bitch, get it. Yes. Who does not love a fucking sword, right?
Yes. And the best part is that he goes, an illusion. I knew the swords would come in handy. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, he's just like cutting right through that bullshit, like literally. And then, of course, on the opposite side of things, Northstar is also being fucked up by Lady Mastermind because he all of a sudden Kyle is there, and Kyle's like, I don't want anything to do with you. And then Aurora shows up, and Bobby shows up, and he's like, you're gross, you're unbearable, we don't love you, we hate you, whatever. And then Kurt shows up and is basically like, you're disgusted, your life disgusts me, you inflict it on children. But then his head is cut off by real Kurt, because that's fake Kurt.
Real Kurt does not tolerate homophobic fake Kurt. Unacceptable. He does not tolerate him.
Yes, he is like, nope, enough of that bullshit. And then they have like this moment, which is like, okay, you're in the middle of a battle, you don't have to have this moment, but it's cute, where Kurt's like, first of all, Kurt is like, it's one of Mastermind's daughters, Martinique Wingard. Now, it is Reagan 100%. It's not Martinique. However, I don't know if James Tinian screwed it up or if Kurt screwed it up. And I like to think that Kurt did. I like to think that he's like, it's one of those bitches. I don't know, Martinique, Reagan. I don't know. It's one of those bitches. It's one of those mastermind bitches. So I kind of like the idea that he's like, whatever. It's one of those stupid mastermind girls.
Right. And this moment here, like, yeah, it's in the middle of battle, but I think this is one of the biggest points of this issue and one of my favorite moments, but especially as a Nightcrawler fan, but in general, especially for Pride, where, at this point in time, it had been established that Kurt was basically essentially a priest, a big part of the church. And when we see here, Northstar internalized that. And so, Kurt's like, Jean-Paul, do you really think so little of me? And Jean-Paul goes, well, we were never close. And Kurt said, you always kept your distance. I respected that. And then, Jean-Paul brings up the elephant in the room and the church. And Kurt said, Jean-Paul, listen to me. I've been to heaven. I remember you there fighting beside me. That is all that matters. So this is a really good moment for both of them because, it shows that, we can't, and I think it's important for us in the community to remember that we can't assume things of people that are religious and stuff. Number one, I know I'm guilty of that, being like, oh, well, this person's super religious. They probably have underlying homophobic intentions or thoughts or feelings. And that's not always the case. And two, it's really great because Kurt doesn't justify himself or he doesn't try to defend the church or his religion. He simply says, I know you are good in his own way, right? To him, that means going to heaven. And so he's said that, and said, look, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what a Bible says or what I think a God says or what you think a God says. This is the fact I know, and that's it. And I just thought that was a really nice moment because it was a quick way to have that discussion that had, especially for Jean-Paul, it seemed like he'd been wanting to have with Kurt for so long, but never felt he could. And it was taken care of just like that.
Oh, I totally agree.
And it was nice to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think too, one thing to consider is like Jean-Paul and Kurt are very different in a lot of ways. And I don't know that they're two characters who would ever be friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're colleagues, they're work acquaintances. They're just not the kind of characters that I would ever be like, oh yeah, no, they're BFFs. This totally makes sense. So it makes sense. He's like you kept your distance and I respected it. Like it has nothing to do with you or who you love or who you are. It's just we're just two different people. And we don't like, it's okay if we're not friends.
Mhm.
It's totally fine. But it doesn't mean I don't respect you. It doesn't mean that I don't, you know, like you. It's just, we're just not close, and that's fine. And then, of course, they're going to get back into the battle and take out Lady Mastermind. And Northstar really tries to connect with Anole and be like, I've been there. I know where you are. I know what you're going through. Like, I'm going to help you. And this is where like that intersectionality comes in, because Victor is like, you have no fucking idea what it's like to be me. Like you are gorgeous and beautiful, and I am a fucking scaly, gross thing. And of course, that is just feeding into Lady Mastermind, and she is just, giving him more and more reasons to hate himself, and showing him more and more like visages of himself, like as this disgusting thing that is like pulling off skin and all this stuff. And he just goes off and off about on Northstar, like, how could you, like, you're a movie star, you're gorgeous, how could you possibly know what I am going through? And this is where Kurt comes in and is like, hey, but like, I might know a thing or two about being a monster, like, or feeling like a monster. Like, what do you think? And this is where they have uh, one of my favorite interactions in comics ever, and which is where we get our name. Where Kurt basically is like, it's always difficult. It's always going to be difficult. There's not, there's no easy out of this. There's no like, this is something that you have to come to terms with, because the rest of the world is going to treat you a certain way no matter what.
Mhm.
And, you can't, you need to find a way to see how great you are. And so I'm just going to read it verbatim, where he's saying basically, like, I look like a demon, I'm strange, like my hands are strange, my touch is alien. And Victor basically says, how did you deal with it? And he said, one day I had an important realization. I remembered that I am quite simply amazing. TM. uh, there is no one in the world like me, no one with my experiences, no one with my particular opinions. My troubles, they simply make me stronger. They've given me other tools to work with. I just want to point out, like, this is something every single person should read and like internalize, because we all are like, we're all uniquely us. There's no other person in the world that has the same experiences, the same everything as us. Each one of us is unique in its own right, and there's pride in that in and of itself. There's pride in being who you are unapologetically, and just saying, this is me, world, own it. You can like me or you can leave me, but I'm me, and I'm not going to change for anybody. And yeah, he says, I am fully, entirely me, and I'm quite fond of that me. I wouldn't want to be anyone else, not for a moment. And then he asks, well, did you get the girl? Of course. I mean, Kurt's gotten plenty of tail, quite literally. So yeah.
Right. And it's like you said, it's just such a nice moment that is both, you know, it's uplifting. It can be seen as cheesy, but it's that one page is just written so well. I think Tanya nailed on the head, and he really also captured Kurt there and what he would say, because Kurt knows he can't say something that will magically make everything better, but he can remind, this kid essentially that, hey, like, I've been there, and at some point you're going to be where I am, which is realizing that you're great despite all this fucking bullshit you're going to deal with, and you are going to find love should you want it. Like, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
And I think the important thing too to take out of all of this is like, um, you know, it might take time, and you're gonna find the right person eventually. I mean, I feel like we all need this to hear this, but like, just because you've been through a bunch of duds, or you keep meeting people who aren't into you or aren't interested in who you are, doesn't mean you should change who you are. It means you just need to keep looking and stay authentic. There's nothing more attractive to another person than someone who is like 100% authentically confident in who they are and knows who they are. That
Yeah.
is something that is what's attractive. And that's what makes Kurt attractive in a lot of ways, is like, he is who he is, and he is never going to apologize for it. It's like, yeah, I'm blue and I'm furry and I smell. Like, what do you want? Like, sorry about it,
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so eventually, this lady mastermind bitch, whatever, she ends up basically, revealing her actual goal, which is garbage. I don't even think it's worth acknowledging, but basically it really had nothing to do with the kid in the first place. And then she literally says it. She goes, "I don't care about that boy." And then up and right behind her, Vic goes, "Yeah, well, the feeling's mutual," and just a great punch to the face that the bits deserved. I mean, it's just pure comics right there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love how they're like, we're gonna call Shield, pick this bitch up, and then we're gonna go back to school. And it's funny, like, oh, Northstar is the one who's like, hey, it's a school night. I don't think you can stay, because Vic wanted to stay in the city and do something. And Kurt's the one who's like, we'll bend a rule. Let him stay. Let him do his thing. And yeah, he ends up going out and meeting up with Gnome and sees him. And actually, Gnome doesn't like hate him. He's like, yeah, let's get a coffee. Like, why not? And it's just like, I mean, granted, Gnome's pissed off at first because he's like, I literally came into the city to meet you, bitch, and you stood me up. And that seems to be his biggest issue, is like that he was stood up more than, uh, more than whatever. But I don't know. It's very cute. They go and like they have their little coffee. And in my mind, Nightcrawler takes Lady Mastermind. They have some hate sex and then drops her off a shield. So, because I don't,
Look,
so I,
the hot villain blondes. I mean, what's Kurt supposed to do? Not do that?
he loves a hot blonde, and especially if that hot blonde is evil. Like, it's just like, it's fucking it's like cocaine for him. It's just, he needs it all the time. He loves a hot evil blonde. I don't know. I got this whole thing in my head from listening to Cerebro. And like, this was a while ago, because they covered the ladies mastermind a while ago. And I remember Nightcrawler coming up during that episode, and like the whole idea of like, he would definitely fuck them and they would definitely fuck him, but none of them, like, none of them would admit to it. Like, they'd be like, no, gross, no, gross. I would never fuck them. But they're like definitely having hate sex behind something. So
Yeah.
I'm all down for that. Like,
Yeah, I think that would be hilarious. But all said, I mean, this is it's a cute issue that I like it because even though yes, it's a one shot and a filler issue in its own right, it tackles and talks about subjects that are often hard to do without being too on the nose the whole time, which I appreciate. Tynion did a good job with the one issue he had to work with to tell the story in.
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I will say that whole little Simply Amazing speech is something that so I think we talked about this a little bit before, but during COVID, which was a tough time for everybody, right? We're all like kind of stuck in our houses. We can't do anything. We don't know what's going on. And, we're trying our best. And this little speech was something that I would repeat to myself over and over again when I was feeling like the hardest time. It's like, I remember I am quite simply amazing. And it's like, there is no one like me. I am uniquely me. And I don't know why it just kept coming back to me. And I guess that's eventually why this ended up being the name of the podcast, because it just was over and over and over again. It just seemed to like make sense. But yeah, it's a very heartfelt issue. It's very cute. It does a very good job of showing that intersectionality of like, it's not everyone that no matter how alike you are to somebody else, you're not going to have the same experiences, and you might not necessarily be the one to help them. So, it's kind of that. I love this issue. I'm really glad we did it. We did this. I think it's super cute and super fun, and yeah, I totally recommend everyone go read it, especially all those Anole fans out there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I didn't really know Anole till I read this issue at all, so I'm all
There's
on
not much
board with
else.
Team Anole.
There's not much. I don't think there's much else about Anole, to be perfectly honest. I hate to say
Justice
that,
for
but
Anole, then hashtag.
justice for Anole. Oh my god, I don't know if does Anole need justice? Like, everybody's telling me. You guys, let us know. Does
They
Anole
put
need justice?
they did this. They did this issue and then put him back in the closet. It sounds like that's not acceptable. Gay rights.
Oh, well, I mean, he's still gay, but he's probably in a closet somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like Anole's the
Yeah,
kind of
where is
kid.
he? Where is Anole?
Anole's the kind of kid who like walks into a closet and can't find his way out. I totally believe that.
Oh, poor Anole. Poor kid.
No, justice for Anole. Justice for Anole. We love him. Justice for Anole. Anyway, well, thank you guys for coming back and enjoying us for this fabulous Pride episode. Yeah, if you have not read this issue, please read it. It is so fun. It is so cute. And yeah, you get that cute speech by Nightcrawler, which I would say for any of you out there who are struggling with anything, just print it out and put it on your mirror and look at it every single day.
Honestly,
And remember
yes.
that. Yes,
Yeah,
right?
100%. And if you guys have any other moments that you might call pride moments that involve Kurt or anything, or even just other X-Men ones, let us know. Tweet them at us because we want to see them. We want to talk about it. We want people to know about them because all the X-Men are gay. That's just a fact. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, probably. Let's be real. I mean, here's the thing. They're even if they weren't before they became X-Men, they've been living in that school long enough. Everybody starts fucking everybody.
Well, and listen, they're mutants. They're technically a species above us. And we all forget this because up until this Krakoan era especially, the mutants have basically been written as humans, but with powers. But they're literally a species above us. Evolutionarily. So, why wouldn't their view on sexuality and gender and stuff evolve beyond what ours is? It wouldn't start that way if they're like, look, we're in the human world, but
see, this is an interesting thing you bring up because whereas they are this is definitely a topic for another episode because the idea are mutants another species? Are they the next evolution in our species? Where does it, because the thing is they're not a fully other species because they can reproduce with humans. So they can't possibly be a completely full other species. And then the other side of it goes to it's that nature versus nurture, right? So even if they are a whole other species or this next evolutionary step species, they're still socialized as humans, especially when they're young. So it's
yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Can evolve now that they have Krakoa.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Krakoa is evolving them in lots of ways. That is for sure.
There's a lot of evolving happening in close quarters, and probably right in the middle of Krakoa. We just don't get it on page.
You know what I really would love to see? I want a one shot, and I want that one shot to be about Rachel Summers, and it's just her at the bar with Blob at the tiki bar. And Blob just keeps refilling her drink because she's just every night I go to bed and I hear my parents fucking Logan and I can't do it anymore. Every night.
No, and then Blob just randomly encourages her on one of the last times, the fifth time this is happening, the fifth night she's complaining. He's like, why don't you just go fuck all the women that want to be fucked by you? I mean, just get them back if anything and have fun doing it. And she's like, you know what, that's a great idea, Blob. And then that's what leads into her fucking all the women on Krakoa and being a stud. Here for it. We've made the story Marvel.
Listen, Connor from Repost said it best when he said that she needs to be the Shane from the L Word of Krakoa and just be crushing that puss, because I totally agree. 100%. Get this girl in, get this girl doing something.
Get her in as many women as possible. I mean, what?
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when we bring up Rachel on this podcast. We lose our shit.
We really do. Here's the thing. I'm not gay. But for Rachel, though, I don't know. I mean, that makes me question things because Rachel is hot. I actually really... I have this idea in my head that I'm eventually going to do a classic Excalibur Rachel Summers cosplay, with the whole hound outfit.
Do it.
And the mullet haircut. I just need to commit to getting a mullet.
Or just get a really crazy wig.
That's true. I could do that too. Well, guys, again, I guess we'll let the Rachel talk be the end of our Pride episode.
It's not a Pride episode if we don't talk about Rachel Summers.
Oh, girl, here's my question. Do we need to do a Rachel episode for the month of June? Because it's a lot to talk about. She did date Nightcrawler. In a very interesting decision
I don't
on both her
want to
parts.
talk about that during Pride Month. I want to talk about what she should be doing now.
That's true. Okay, we'll figure it out. We got lots of stuff to talk about anyway in the interim. And don't worry, we'll get to Rachel. We are going to get to Rachel. We'll probably do several episodes on Rachel just because she's fucking amazing and has a lot of connection to Kurt in a lot of different ways. So, Lauren, where can they find you?
I was gonna say she can connect with me in a lot of ways. You
Whoa!
all can find me and Rachel Summers. If you are real and listening, you can also find me on Twitter at friendlymBHDBI. Come bother me. It's Pride Month. Like, send me gay shit, even if I don't know you. My DMs are open. Have at it. Like, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Her DMs are open. You hear that, everybody? Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between. Her DMs
They
are
heard
open.
it
She's ready
once,
for you.
Lisa. They heard it once.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm trying to be a good wingman or wingwoman, as it were. Yeah, if you want to come bother me, you can find me at the OG Nocturne, and that's NACHTRUNE. Did I spell that right? I think so. Yeah. Whatever.
Yes.
You'll figure it out. And then of course we have our fabulous website where all of our links to everything is simplyamazingpod.com. You can find our links to our Twitter, our Instagram, our Twitch, our Facebook, also to our new shop where again, everything that is sold this month is going to donate. We're going to donate to the Trevor Project. So please buy yourself a Juggernaut and Black Tom shirt like I did. Buy yourself a BAMF shirt like I did. Yeah, I bought it all. So please do go enjoy, get yourselves, show us what you look like in it. We want to see you wearing it. And like I said, again, every single cent is going to go to the Trevor Project. So it's a fantastic way to support Pride and support people in general this month. Yeah. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another fantastic episode. If you like us, review us, rate us, tell us you love us. If you don't, I don't know, keep your mouth shut. We don't need to hear from you. It's okay. Actually, if you don't love us, tell us too, because I want to hear about it. I want to know. I want to know what people don't like about me. All right. So
I was
maybe,
gonna
maybe,
say any press is good press,
well, that's
depending.
it. And maybe honestly, if people can tell me what they don't like about me and I can add it to my match profile and be like, hey, hated for these reasons, right? I'm waving my gavel around.
I was gonna say, I want people to know that as you were saying this, you were waving your gavel, like being very threatening.
I am very threatening. This gavel, this is from when I was an auctioneer, ladies and gentlemen. I used to be an auctioneer. So
Listen,
anyway,
I just
another
think
talk for the
that
day.
you should have that right next to you in the bedroom. So if anybody messes up, gavel rolling. You are
That's
doing
it.
garbage.
Oh, girl, that is such a good idea. Okay, that's
Here
for
to
another
help you.
podcast. For another podcast. And for anyone out there who is dealing with any issues, any crisis, anything where you feel like you are not enough, maybe identity issues, trying to figure out who you are as a person, you know what? You are uniquely you. There is no one else like you in this entire world. And don't forget that you are simply amazing.